This is the second half of Jan David Jenssen's 2017 Greenland Kayak Championship rolling competition in Aasiaat, Greenland. So he's reached the Avatak roll with 130 points. And that is successfully performing the first 18 rolls on the competition list on both sides, including the 4 speed rolling maneuvers. And he made 5 rolls within 10 seconds each time. The only way to do better than 130 would be to do 6 rolls in 10 seconds. And Jan David actually did that in a Danish rolling competition. But here in Greenland, that 6th roll was just a little too slow. The Greenland Kayak Championships were first held in 1987. Looking back at 30 years of rolling records, we've got the highest score in the books is 352. That was done in 2006. Although it has to be noted that was done not using a skin-on-frame kayak, as is required in the Greenlandic class of the competition. So that result doesn't compare directly to the highest scores using a skin-on-frame and a sealskin tuilik. Best score by a Greenlander is 296. That was done by Qattaarneq Davidson in 2006. Second highest is Maligak Padilla's best at 284 points. He did that in 2008. And the next highest is 281 by pt2 in 2006. All these records were set after 2005. That was a year that the number of rolls on the competition list went from 30 rolls to 35 rolls, which added more than 75 points to the total number you could get. Before that, the record was 278 by Christian D. Yusufsson in 1999. And that 278 was just half a point higher than what Maligak did in 2004. And if we're keeping track of the details, Jan David here is using a skin-on-frame kayak, but he has a neoprene tuilik. And many competitors feel that a neoprene tuilik makes rolling somewhat easier. Rolls done with a paddle are worth anywhere from 2 to 5 points per side. Once the paddle is put aside, the point values start going up, and you can accumulate points a lot faster if you can do the more advanced rolls. The series here done with just a Norsok, and then the hand, closed fist, and then the brick. It involves 3 variations. There's the front to front, or a masikut, back to front, or kingukut, and front to back, known as nofashlashlugu. The rules require that the rolls be done in the prescribed order, and you can skip whatever you can't do or don't want to try. But once you pass on any roll, you can't go back to it later. Normally, the judge will call out the rolls to remind the competitor what is next. The top competitors often memorize the list so they can run through it without waiting for the judge to announce each move. Or some people will make a waterproof list and keep it on their deck to refer to as they go. In any case, if you mistakenly try something too soon or forget something, the rule against doing them out of order still applies. You can see here that Jan David is not using a list and not asking the judge to announce the rolls. He has evidently done a lot of practicing for this. If any maneuver in the rolling competition is poorly executed, for example, struggling a little or not keeping the paddle in the correct position, the judge can take a point off. So in the closed fist rolls he's going through here, asak bekushlugu, if at the end of the recovery he had to slap at the water more than once, he'd only get 7 points instead of 8. As you can see, everything Jan David does is very smooth and performed with confidence. Some Greenlanders feel that foreigners have an unfair advantage in rolling because they can practice all year long and do it in water that is generally a lot warmer. It is pretty amazing that these techniques were invented and refined here in the Arctic under these conditions. The people that did this for their livelihood had to be incredibly tough. Foreigners coming to the competition do have to worry about what equipment they're going to use. Borrowing a skin-on-frame doesn't guarantee a good fit, and bringing a kayak to Greenland can get pretty expensive. Both these methods have been tried. Jan David built his kayak in Norway, then took off the skin, disassembled the frame, went to Greenland a week before the competition started, so he could put the frame back together and reskin it in time for the event. That's some real dedication. As comfortable as he seems to be rolling that kayak, looks like it was worth going to all that trouble. Up to roll number 20. Kayaking pt2 masikut, using a brick in the rolling hand. There are 6 ways to do this, each worth 9 points. The brick most often used is a paving stone from Denmark. Weighs about 4 or 5 pounds. They do use a lighter one for the women. 284 matches Maligac's best record from 2008. And now Jan David passes 300, topping Kununguak's record from 2006. So there are just 4 things left to do: the elbow roll, and the straitjacket roll, then paddling upside down for distance, and then the walrus pull. Plenty of time remaining here. The elbow roll, Qattaarneq pukusuk patishlugu, is worth 10 points per side. It is not nearly as difficult as the one that comes after it. Straitjacket roll, Dashlit Bashatishluit Timalnamik, 11 points per side. That is the first thing he missed. The rules allow for a second try at 1 point less. And the crowd is excited. And it's not there. Looks like he's going to skip the other side and move on to pt2 paddling upside down. This is a seal hunter's trick from the old days. Demonstrates how long you can hold your breath, as well as how calm you are and confident that you can roll up before you run out of air. The scoring for this has changed in recent years. It used to be a point for the first 3 meters, and then a point for every 2 additional meters. To simplify the calculation, it was changed to 1 point per meter. So to be precise in comparing records, we have to note that earlier high scores were made using a scoring system that only gave about half as much credit for paddling upside down. And also back then, this was done along a line of floating markers, so the competitor also had to steer in a straight line to get the most points. Nowadays, they tie a string to the end of the kayak to measure the distance. Unfortunately, Jan David's skill was underestimated here, and there isn't enough untangled string to pay out fast enough. So the underwater paddling exercise turns into an underwater towing exercise, which isn't supposed to happen. So his first try will be disregarded as technical interference, and he gets to go again. So he's taking his time to set up. He has a lot of time left, so there's no rush. I would assume he's using some special breathing exercises here to prepare for staying under as long as possible. And finally, he goes. It's apparent he's practiced and experimented with different techniques to find the best way to do this. Look at how deep he gets the paddle blade in the water on each stroke. His entire arm goes underwater while the opposite hand reaches around to the keel. During normal paddling, it's well established that a touring stroke uses a lower paddling angle, and the racing stroke becomes more vertical. Look at how vertical he's got that paddle, even while he's upside down. That was 33 strokes he took. 22 meters is outstanding, although there have been previous rolling competitors who have gone further than that. Last thing on the list is Nuzuchino Kingunani Iruawizamut. In English, we call it the Walrus pull. Rope is tied to the kayak and passed under the hull to the shore, where it's forcibly pulled as the kayaker tries to maintain control to keep from getting flipped over. This is a simulation of what a hunter would do if his harpoon line caught on the deck as a large animal dragged him. Unlike other maneuvers, it's impossible to practice this one by yourself. This is worth 9 points. He lost control there. Second try for 8 points. And he's got it. 370 points sets a new world rolling record. Very impressive. If he had made the straightjacket roll on both sides, that's 11 points twice. Added to 370 is 392. If he hit the 6 speed rolls instead of 5, that's 2 more points, 394. And just 5 more meters upside down would make 399. And a walrus pull in the first try with 1 more point would be a total of 400. So it's fair to say that 400 points is about the maximum possible score for Greenland rolling competition. And with 370, Jan David Jenssen sets a very high standard.
Jan David Jenssen, går enough?